Hi and welcome. I'm Abby from Abi Keene Healing. I'm a healer, body worker, and mainly I'm a human being searching for meaning in this crazy world. And for that, I invited Andrea Frey to join me here today to talk about life, about meaning, and the quest for courage. So, Andrea, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Um, is there anything that you'd like us to know about you?
Um, well, I'm a healer and professional life coach for women who are on a spiritual path. I founded a group program about 4 years ago called From Guidance Within, and I'm now running two groups. One is more of a business coaching program, and then the other is how to cultivate inner guidance and intuitive development and healing gifts. That's the second year program. And yeah, I guess like you, I'm a human on this planet looking for meaning and purpose. And I just love what you're up to. And I was so happy when you asked me to interview me. So I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. And I'm going to actually jump right into the nitty gritty if you don't mind. And I want to start with a topic of courage. And first of all, before I even ask you about your own experiences, what does courage mean to you
Mhm.
as it pertains to life?
Mhm. I think the first association that comes to mind when I think about courage or when I feel into courage is the heart. And living from your heart is the most courageous thing you can do. So that's, I think, what it means to me is to live unencumbered from your heart and to really see the world through the eyes of your heart and be able to relate through um, through the honesty and the vulnerability of the heart. That's what courage, I think that's the most courageous thing we can do, is really just love with an open heart and have the courage to be vulnerable enough to speak the truth and relate with the truth and share ourselves unencumbered. Um, I think for a long time it meant, creative courage. Like, I think that's what I've worked on most of my life, is how to feel fully expressed in my life, mainly through my work. But now I'm entering a new phase of courage, and that's definitely on the personal front, entering into more meaningful and um, interesting and adventurous relationships. But yeah, mostly on the personal level is really where my next level work is. Because it's, after cultivating creative courage for the last 16 years, it's sort of like, okay, I got that. Like, to a degree of, okay, I know what that's like. But for me, um, the next level is really bringing all of that courage back into the way I relate in my personal life, and also the way that I feel myself as a human being on the planet, which brings up a lot of vulnerability, especially in a time like this where everything feels a bit more higher stakes, if you will, to be human and to be to be sensitive and feeling human being, a human being that's in touch with her sensitivity and capacity for deep feeling in times like these where everything is so volatile around. I think it takes a tremendous amount of courage to stay present, to what is really happening, what is really going on, and how it impacts all of us. Um, so it's interesting to me that like for so long, I felt like courage pertained to the level of purpose I felt in my life in terms of my spiritual calling and my creative work and my professional work, my healing work with others. And now it's at a deeper level of like, how do I bring this back home
Mm.
in my personal relationships, and also what I want for myself on that intimate level of being fully expressed through my heart, um, at the most intimate level of myself, which is a whole new paradigm. And I'm just so grateful that I'm recognizing that. um, that
So,
there's like another level, because you think like, oh, okay, I did that, but then there's always more. So
there's always more. I think that's part of being alive, is that we always talk about the onion, but it's like we never get to the core and stop, reach the place. It's like there's always more unlayering. But I wanted to say that the reason I'm so interested in doing these interviews, and I'm so grateful for you for your showing up here, is that I think there is so much service in sharing our story, because we tend to feel like we're the only ones struggling and going through such a hard time. And hearing other people's struggles can be really inspiring. And so, if you don't mind, I know you've worked really, really hard to create what you've created in your life. And I just wanted to know if you can share, like, what in your life took courage to do, and what was the fear that you had to go through to arrive there? And then, I guess it's a threefold. How do you feel now, having kind of confronted yourself in those difficult places?
Mhm, mhm. Trying to think of a good moment to share, because I think there have been many, you know, many thresholds, um, different types of initiations into deeper courage. But I would say that the thing that pops up to mind, was when I really chose my work,
Mm,
and when I really chose to take a stand for what I really wanted in my life in terms of my work, and also the way my work folded into creating the lifestyle that I wanted. Um, and I remember when I was developing my material, it had been developing itself over a long period of time. And then, um, there were, how can I say, like I sort of hit um, burnout, basically. I mean, I think that's what I should call it, is I just went so far to my edge of overextending myself and working in a way that was not good for me, and not sustainable. And I needed that. I'm not saying that that was the wrong way to go. It was just, that was the way that it happened. And I can remember the moment, like, I was, driving over the George Washington Bridge, and I was running late to meet a client. At that time, I had probably like 5 clients in a day, commuting about 1 hour in between each client. And I was completely overextended, and also not really meeting my financial responsibilities. I just couldn't even meet to pay all my bills. And I just broke down on the bridge. I mean, we were in a massive traffic jam, and it was just like the moment of like no return, where it was just so clear that I couldn't continue working in the way that I was going. And then I had no idea how I was going to shift the pattern of overextending myself and working in a way that was no longer beneficial for what I really wanted, which was to be a mentor and a guide for other women on a deeply spiritual path. So I was shifting identities at that time as well. So what's interesting is that the outward appearance didn't shift for a while. It was an inner recognition of, okay, this has got to change. And I don't know how I'm going to change that. And
So pause.
Mhm.
Can you identify at that moment, before you continue on with this specific story,
Mhm.
what did you need to trust inside?
Yeah, I think that's it's interesting. So trust, yes, the very important word of trust. And I think actually at that time I had to trust that pain was my guidance.
Mm,
That actually the pain of not living into a reality I knew I wanted was the pain. I knew that I had the commitment, that I had the drive, that I had the momentum, that I could really, if I put myself into anything, I knew I was going to do 200%. I'd already done that. But what took courage was taking a stand for the value of my work, which at that time felt more like a creative vision, a spiritual calling, rather than a real business. Like, a fundamental, foundational operation that was actually, growing and uplifting and expanding rather than just kind of just making it by, just getting by. So actually the place I had to really trust was, one, I had to trust that pain was guidance and that it was asking me to pay attention. And then the second place I had to trust was that there was support. I had no idea where it was going to come from. I just knew, like, okay, if I reach out to those that inspire me and that I see a glimpse of something that I want in them, like I reached out to other artists and healers who looked like they had a business that looked like something I wanted, or, it just reflected back to me something. I was like that, something like that. And so trusting that there was support, and without even knowing what it looked like, I had no idea at that point at all that I would launch a coaching and mentorship program for women that's 10 months long. Like at that point, I had no, the seed might have been planted, but it was very much underground. So I had to trust in the pain as guidance. I had to trust that there was support. And then I had to trust that I had the capacity to grow beyond what I thought about myself and my services. Like I had to grow out of old beliefs that
mhm.
were no longer serving me. I had to trust that I could let go of promises that no longer upheld what I wanted in life. And so to trust in myself is like the simple way to say it, but it felt like I had to reach really deep into this place that knew when most of me didn't believe it yet. And that was probably the scariest part of that process. Like I can remember moments, and this is me really, I don't know if I've shared this, but there would be, when I was developing the work and learning what it was, I would literally be up in the mornings writing and then like crying most of the time, like, can I really trust that this is real? Because it hadn't, you're creating something that's never been done before, you're doing it your way. And so in a large part, I think that reflected my own practice in believing and what I believed in. It would really challenge, like, okay, what do I really believe in this? Do I really believe in myself? Do I really believe that this is possible? And so the courage came from a place that was really on its knees. Like for the most part, that was very real. It was very much a part of letting go of what I had known. And what's interesting is I had to keep going in that current identity. I couldn't stop and take vacation to figure it out. Like I had to work as a yoga teacher and fulfill the identity people recognize me as, while internally I was becoming a completely different person and a different practitioner, which was also terrifying because I thought, when I really come out as what I see myself becoming, what's going to happen to all these current relationships that I had? So as a highly creative person, you go through these cycles where you're shedding skin faster than everybody else around you even recognizes. And so to trust in who you're becoming.
And it seems there's a huge importance in I'm going to go back to what you said about the pain.
Yeah.
That the pain is a guide, and kind of like when we give birth, it really hurts. And like this process of going through this pain to birth this new way of being, and by doing so, having the ability to actually guide others to go through a similar journey down the birth canal, and that you couldn't be there for others in the same way had you not gone through it yourself. And how much being in this inner conflict can be a gift rather than a curse or a burden. And so I'm wondering, like, having gained that experience, what would you like other people to know? Like, if you had to like give this message out to others, what would it be?
I guess I'm thinking of the words of my teacher that really held me to the process. And I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember the exact quote, but yeah, I guess this is true. I'm trying to think of like what I would really want people to know. And I think it's, don't let who you think you are today hold you back from becoming the person you want to be. To trust in the vision and to trust in the person you know yourself to be, that's actually calling you through the current events of your life and saying there's more. There is more, and that there is support to help you realize that. Yeah. And I think that was the biggest thing, for someone who does everything on her own and is very self-sufficient and prides herself on being that independent, to actually allow a community of support to guide me through the process. I had to do the work, yes, but that was a huge part in learning how to trust myself at a deeper level, was allowing others in. So the one thing I would say is, yes, don't let the person you think you are today hold you back from becoming the person you want to be and see yourself to be, because you see it, you know it, you have the feeling, it's in your cells and you feel it. And that to me is just an exquisite process. It's just really amazing, and I was just thinking the other day, like all these things that we do, like healing, body work, coaching, therapy, whatever it is, it doesn't really, I always think, we're just birthing ourselves into another reality, dimension, level of who we are.
And even sometimes I would even say that it feels like I am going on this long journey only to find who I was all along.
Right, exactly.
Who I always was underneath it all, It was always me to begin with. I just forgot and I went astray.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
so what would you say gives you meaning, or what do you feel? I know this is a huge question, but on a personal level, what do you think it's all about, this life of ours?
Remembering,
Hmm.
remembering, such a
Yeah.
sacred word. It's like remembering who we are, how we love, being loved, loving. That's it.
Yeah.
Remembering how to love it. Like, yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what I feel.
I feel like it makes all the sense in the world. And I actually feel like it's kind of like the bottom line of it. So I don't even want to ask you any more questions because that feels like it's the perfect place to stop. Because what more can we say
Mm,
after love?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so, so much for sharing yourself and your story and your courage and your inspiration and all the goodness that you bring to those around you.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Okay.
me. This was so much fun and deeply meaningful. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Abby.
Okay. Thank you.